What is going on, you freaks, man? It is hot. The weather is amazing. I really wish I was like in South America or some other place because I know it's not gonna last. It's not gonna last. And I'm just gonna be sad when this weather finally leaves us, man. Sombra del Piso back once again with yet another video. This is another episode in this long going series, only for like a week really, of the Peruse the News with Sombra del Piso, the captain of the cruise, through the blues of the down truths. I don't know. But today, of course, we're gonna just analyze the news based on what we know about things and what we think and our belief systems. We're just gonna try to tie it with, with our opinions. So like, comment, subscribe, share the video with some peers as per usual, and we're gonna get right into it. I got some really good stuff for you guys today. I'm just gonna keep it a stack. Let's see what we're gonna start off with, because we got a couple of articles that I saved here. Look at this silliness. If you got it, you got it, honestly. This is just my personal opinion. You know, if you got it, you got it. It's not silly to you, then it's not silly to you. Silly is a matter of perspective. That's it. So this article is from the New York Post. It's one of two very popular New York newspapers here in New York. The other one being Daily News. This article title is written by an Asia Grace. I'm a super commuter. I travel across 4 states to work in NYC, and my salary is worth it. So based on the title alone, we can only imagine that this guy is traveling to New York and back to wherever he's from every single day. I don't know, that reminds me of that episode of The Twilight Zone, where, I mean, that wasn't the focal point of that episode, but there was I think it was the episode where it was a stop of Willoughby, where Garth Brooks, the main character, was traveling all the way from Connecticut to New York every day to work. And of course he had like some high-powered job of being a marketing executive or something. But this is nuts. Let's read on, and then we're gonna give our analysis, guys. So it takes a lot for Kyle Rice to get work, but that's with all of us. Sombra del Piso has been trying to get an executive job and working in corporate for almost a decade, but you know, they don't want me in that clubhouse, so this is the situation. So Kyle Rice is not some special individual. He's not some unique unit. But for a 6-figure salary, the suburban father of 2, wow, he has 2 children, doesn't mind spending over $1,500 a month and traveling across 4 states for his 125-mile commute into the concrete jungle. This is crazy. He logs the whole thing on social media. Come with me as I do a super commuter from Wilmington to my job in Manhattan in New York City, says Kyle Rice, an EMS software developer from Newcastle, Delaware, inviting over 1.4 million TikTok viewers to join his 2-hour trek. So what I remember about the distance of from New York to Delaware, I was a badly behaved kid in the past. Sombra del Piso was a nuisance, he was a menace. And my mom thought that they could, if sending me to some boot camp all the way in Delaware, would rid me of these horrible, malicious qualities. And I don't know if they sort of changed now, or I don't know if those qualities disappeared now, but maybe they've sort of transformed or transmuted into something else due to some spiritual practice. It's neither here or there. But I do remember that bus ride from, I think it was Penn Station, no, it was the place on 42nd Street, that bus depot on 42nd Street. I remember the trip from there all the way to Delaware was like 3.5 hours, 4 hours. It was something incredibly crazy. So if this guy is doing this every single day, clearly there are a lot of things that are going to be lacking from his life, like such as the gym, maybe having proper diet. You know, this is just nuts. But work is hard, and I don't know. You know, work is hard to come by, and I don't know if I was presented with a similar situation with the same conditions, if I were to refuse that or take it. Let's see what else he has to say. This guy, Kyle. I commute through 4 states and a total of 240 miles round trip. Of course, 125 back. He added in the caption of the click-worthy clip, which saw him catch a 6 a.m. train from Delaware through Pennsylvania, then through New Jersey and into New York. The married dad, so not only he has kids, he has 2 kids, he's also married as well. So in the midst of traveling to and fro and working in New York, traveling from Delaware to New York, he has to also maintain that high, intimate nature of his marriage. How does he do it? How does Kyle do it? There's a lot that we could learn from this guy. We could probably learn more from Kyle. If his marriage is indeed successful, we could actually learn more from Kyle, from most philosophers, right? Seriously, how to maintain a relationship whilst making a 240-mile trip to and fro work and home every single day. The married dad of two is in the growing number of 9-to-5ers who routinely sacrifice sleep, silence, and the comforts of suburbia as New York City super commuters. Oh, ¿cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, estoy haciendo un video para mi canal de YouTube. Con placer. Rather than taking a full-time position in their home states, non-New Yorkers like Kyle Rice, prefer hauling tail into the Big Apple for big paychecks. So New York and New Jersey, they differ. They're very, very close to each other, very in close proximity, but they differ from each other a lot in terms of wage laws. New York, it is an expensive city. Naturally, the wages will be slightly higher to try to compensate for that, but for the most part, it's really not enough to live and thrive here. So what this guy is doing, he's doing something incredibly intelligent, you know, in theory, which is living in a place like Delaware where living costs are very, very low and reduced compared to New York, and going to New York every day and receiving a New York salary, which I'm sure he's getting like 6 figures. I wonder if the article is going to disclose that information to us. Let's check it out. There's another person here, Upper West Side beautician Caitlin J, 30 years old, previously told the Post that making the bi-weekly 700-mile trip from Charlotte to New York affords her a dream life. But at what cost? 700 miles? What? That is nuts. That is nuts. Like I said, I'm speaking from an outsider's point of view. I'm looking into the situation. I don't know if I was actually presented with a high-powered executive New York salary, if I would refuse it for the sake of too long of a travel. I don't have to worry about the high cost of living in New York City, the millennial told Business Insider. This is Kyle Rice now, the guy that's traveling from Delaware to New York every day. The average one bedroom in Manhattan is $4,443 a month. 3 times my mortgage of $1,400. I live in a suburban area with all the benefits of urban pay. So I'm gonna take this a little further. This is an incredibly intelligent idea in theory, because you remember the traveling is just too much. My thing is this. What Kyle is trying to do is basically pay low costs of living by remaining in Delaware, right, in a place that affords that low cost of living, groceries, mortgage costs, and whichever, and taking the huge salary from metropolises like New York City. What I'm trying to do, I'm sort of trying to do something like that, but except I want to dwell in the place permanently where the cost of living is low and receiving a high-powered salary relative to the costs and prices of that place that I'm dwelling in, i.e. finding remote work, moving to South America. I think this is a very, very, or going to a place where the cost of living is just low, outside of the US, where you could have great social experiences, have great prices on things, have access to very, very good goods and services at a fraction of the cost that it would cost here in the US. Think about it, guys. Think about it. This is my goal currently. All right, so we're done with that article. Let's go to another one. Ha, this is good. This is written by the Wired magazine, right, by Carlton Reed. His title of this article is "The End of iPhones." Maybe he's referring to like the name, the iPhone, and maybe the Apple is thinking about transitioning to maybe a much more hip, colloquial name. Because if they're talking about business for Apple products going down the drain or doing bad, this is not happening anytime soon. There are lines outside of Apple stores all around New York City every single day to buy more Apple products or buy the latest Apple products. This company is not going anywhere. Steve Jobs has created wonderful pillars for this company to exist. There's feasibly no way I could go in and be the CEO of Apple, and I would still be bringing in quarterly earnings for the next couple years. There's no way this company will fail. It's too big to fail. Let's read what Carlton has to say. Last week's launch of more powerful iPad shows that for now, and for this line of products at least, Apple is sticking with its long in-the-tooth I prefix. But how much time remains for this dotted relic of the Steve Jobs era, a lowercase vestigial tale with little modern relevance? It doesn't matter, it's a name. This is what he created. Who cares? Leave it, leave the I in front of the noun, right? Not much time at all, according to brand experts, and also Ken Siegel, the creative who 26 years ago named the first I prefix Apple product. It was Siegel, who persuaded Jobs in 1998 to use iMac as a new computer name instead of the internally developed and rather dreadful moniker Macman. Thanks Siegel that there was never such a thing as the man phone. Who cares? It's a phone. It does its intended purpose, right? It's super modish. Who cares what it's called? Of course, we know the story of Apple because of the antitrust laws in the US, which basically states that one company cannot have a monopoly in an industry. And at the time, Microsoft Windows had a monopoly in the tech industry. I think Microsoft had to give money or give a stipend to Apple to lend to competition, because I think Apple was like the closest in terms of revenue gained every year or something compared to Windows. So due to antitrust laws, Windows had to give Apple some money to start up and create some products. And now, look at it, it's definitely given Windows a run for its money, for sure. Steve Jobs was spearheaded Apple and most of its products. And he passed away very, very recently. Obviously, all their products are very, very successful. And now they're trying to find something useless to do because their company's just doing so well. The iMac, a then radical and lust-worthy machine devised as a ready out-of-the-box gateway to the internet when other computers were challenging to take online, birthed a long line of Apple i products from the defunct iBook. Oh, I forgot about that. I remember once upon a time I was in 7th grade, I was learning how to use BB Edit, that software where it was basically taught HTML, CSS stuff. And, it was just basically editing the code, the back-end code of a website. And I was doing this all on this very, very pretty Macintosh computers. That's when they had the desktop computers had all these colors for it to him instead of the very, very monochromatic theme that it has now. And it was cool. I remember they had a Flash player. My friend was really, really good at that. He used to make all these stick figure fighting videos. It was cool. The I needs to go, he says. It's now meaningless. Sure, Jobs built Apple around it, but remember, the I has always been a sub-brand. There might be marketing experts who say Apple would be crazy to drop the prefix, me included. I'm not a marketing expert, though. I did study marketing, and I could have been an expert if I was allowed inside the business, but, let's just keep some of that piso out. It's still in front of some of the greatest brands ever, but it can't be protected, and for too long, there have been companies with internet-connected things, and that's an issue for Apple, known for innovation. I just think that it wouldn't make a difference. It doesn't matter. I is associated with Apple. It doesn't matter what other brands will start to utilize that same prefix. I is in the consumer brain as being connected with Apple products. So clearly they're not, at the end of the day, these guys haven't been good at innovation or innovating Apple products for the longest. Tim Cook was an engineer and is an engineer, I think, still, when Steve Jobs was the CEO and founder of Apple when he was alive. But when he passed, Tim Cook was given the reins. And to be honest, it's a little bit of a controversial statement, but he hasn't created anything innovative for the company in years, in a very, very long time. I think what this attempt is just to bring some light and some eyes onto Apple, which is to compensate for their lack of innovation for the past couple of years. That's just my honest opinion. All right, so we're going to talk about the last article. This one is very, very interesting, and I'm all about health, but this one is good. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Please leave your comments in the comment section. So this is by the Time magazine, where they have all these very legendary people's portraits on the face of the magazine. This magazine is a big deal. So this one is written by two people, Mark Hyman and Ron Gutman, and the title of the article written by these two lads is called "It's Time to Treat Sugar Like Cigarettes." We know this. Just hearing the title of the article, we already know that we should have already been doing this, right? Cigarettes is bad, leads to a whole plethora of disorders and cancers: lung cancer, throat cancer, erosion of the tooth enamel, bad breath, you name it, yellowing fingernails. Cigarettes are horrible. Remember, a lot of the studies talking about the negatives and the banes of cigarettes were done in the early 1950s or something. Of course, sugar, we think that because it's not as directly horrible for you as cigarettes is, smoking a cigarette, we think that it's not as bad. But in fact, refined sugar, which is another bane almost as bad as smoking cigarettes, the combustion of cigarettes, definitely needs to be compared in how atrocious it is for the body. Let's hear what these lads have to say about it. So the food we eat impacts every aspect of our lives and our bodies, our home. This is not even general information. We could walk around any sort of city and you could see bellies on individuals, just like bad physical traits. And this is definitely due to our diets and the lack of exercise, physical exercise. The food we eat impacts every aspect of our lives and our bodies, our hormones especially, brain chemistry especially, immune system, microbiome, the list goes on. As consumers, we deserve the right to easily understand our food's nutritional value in order to make informed decisions about what we consume and how that will impact our health. I agree with that 100%. I think that a lot of information about foods, there was a study on trans fats and how that was bad years ago. They started to include that in the nutritional value table. And then there's a lot of growing studies how seed oils are bad for us. Eating excessive meat is bad for you too. Grilling meat produces carcinogens, which lend to a higher chance of developing cancers in the body. These are all studies that came out in recent years. And I do think that still, in light of all this information, the nutritional value of foods are still very, very, very convoluted. I think that's still very confusing to the consumer. I think there needs to be just flat out in Europe, in South America, they have signs on food that have too much sugar, that have too much sodium, that have ingredients that are not necessarily good for the body. Even in the EU, even though I don't necessarily agree with that supernatorial government that all countries that belong to the EU have to run their laws through in order to get them situated in their countries, the EU have a lot of great laws regarding the proliferation of bad foods, toxic foods in the ecosystems, in the member bloc countries. So I think that in the US we definitely need something like that for sure. So this is especially important when it comes to ingredients that are detrimental when eaten in excess, like sugar. As researchers in functional medicine, longevity, AI, and nutrition, we have dedicated our professional lives to improving the health and well-being of millions everywhere. They're advertising their services now, a little. And while we applaud the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, for taking such important strides to pass mandatory front-of-package labeling for packaged foods in the US, this change can't come soon enough. Everyone's health depends on it. So we already know refined sugar is poison. Refined sugar is broken down from eating bread, a lot of carbs, a lot of sodas are popular here. People are still drinking Sprite. People are still drinking Coca-Cola Diet Coke. Diet Coke has aspartame and sucralose. Both very toxic artificial sweeteners that destroy the brain chemistry and drink over time, it does a morphing to our hormones. People are still consuming these products in spite of all of these studies against it. I think that the US needs to do a very, very active hands-on job on banning these products, I think, or just not allowing the constitution of the drink to remain the same because it's completely toxic for the individual that consumes these products. 74% of packaged foods in the US contain added sugar, including seemingly healthy foods such as salad dressing, for sure. A lot of refined sugar in salad dressing. I don't even use that stuff. Coleslaw and even baked beans. A lot of sugar is in baked beans, the broth. Marinades, yep. And yogurt. Some sweetened yogurts contain more sugar than a can of soda. We're not gonna name any names here of companies that produce that stuff. Chobani. Chobani got super popular years ago because they had a very, very unique package design. They talked about this whole health benefit to consumers, when in reality, they have so much sugar, added refined sugar in their products. It's crazy. No one knows anything about their foods. It's insane. That sugar is so biologically addictive. Studies indicate that it's 8 times as addictive as cocaine. Makes the reality that it's hidden in so many foods even more harmful. Most of us are addicted to sugar and we don't even know it. It is true. It is true. Guys, like I was saying, not only there are the products that obviously have added sugar like soda, which is completely horrible for you, candy, right? But things that break down into sugar in the body when you consume it, which is even worse because it's a hidden assassin. We have chips, we have bread, we have Chobani yogurt and a whole bunch of other Yoplait yogurt. All of these things, when consumed, breaks down into sugar for the body that causes the body to be addicted. It causes this horrible toxic feedback loop, and it harms our brain, it harms our hormones, and it has at least a whole plethora of seedling disorders that, you know, in the future, when we diagnose these things, we can't find the root cause. This is insane, guys. Stay away from sugar. Look, I'm gonna tell you, let's read a little bit more. This cycle of addiction is relentless and hard to break. We eat food with sugar, which then triggers a spike in blood sugar, which lights up the pleasure center in our brain. It's the same process that happens when solidifying addiction. When you, any sort of addiction, when you, especially, you know, of course, we're talking about adult film content. You view adult film content like with consuming something with sugar. Dopamine is produced by that pleasure center in the brain, and then, of course, when returning to that activity, when returning to that food source, that sugar source, the same process happens again. But in this next phase, you have to produce even more. You have to consume even more sugar in order to get the same dopamine hit as the initial hit. Life sucks, really, and sugar is making it bad. Even worse, when the inevitable sugar crash comes, we seek that spike again in the form of craving more sugar. Without easily discernible food labeling, shoppers unknowingly create this cycle inside of their own bodies, even while they erroneously think the food they're buying is healthy. So I'm gonna tell you something like this. Whole Foods is another culprit of this whole thing as well. Whole Foods is this supposedly healthy supermarket that is all around America and in some places in Europe, London specifically as well. They're known for only carrying healthy foods in their repertoire of healthy food brands that they sell to consumers that go into Whole Foods. The thing is that a lot of those foods are high in sodium, a lot of them have a lot of synthetic ingredients, and a lot of them have a lot of sugar, refined added sugar. Like a lot of the yogurts, right? A lot of the supposedly healthy snacks. What I use whenever I go into these supermarkets, especially Whole Foods, because Whole Foods is my supermarket, I use an app called Yuka. Yuka as in like the potato, Yuka, but we replaced the C with a K. It scans for barcodes, this app, and you could basically scan the items and it has a list. If the item is in the Yuka archival database, you are able to glean a lot of all the ingredients that are in the product that you are thinking about purchasing. And it shows in terms of levels, and it's color coded as well, which items are very toxic for the body. Which ingredients are very toxic for the body, why those ingredients are toxic for the body, and here are alternatives to that item. And and if you pay for it, it's free, this app, but if you pay for the service, they should also display where you can find those alternatives. Beautiful app in trying to mitigate the amount of toxic ingredients, added sugar that you are consuming on a day-to-day. I think that you should be using this, especially in navigating this new environment of trying to stay healthy, and not really necessarily stay healthy, but stay away from added sugar, which said by our two lads that wrote this beautiful article in Time magazine, the one article that I agree with on the Peruse the News segment, that is as addictive, 8 times as addictive as cocaine. Stay away from these things, guys. And of course, go on Semen Retention if you are a male, and you will find enlightenment and you will find complete physical wellness yet. And with that being said, that's all I have to say today. If you like that content, like, comment, subscribe, leave a comment, please leave some advice. I'm trying to get better at this whole thing, so I'm gonna need some feedback. Don't let this world get you down. We are surrounded by added sugar. We are surrounded by marketing experts that are trying to make themselves more relevant by doing very, very useless stuff. But we got to stay focused, we got to stay vigilant, and we got to stay dedicated to physical wellness, spiritual wellness, and ascension. And stay radiant. I shall see you guys in the next one.